In this video, I'm afraid it's another talkie rather than a doey. I thought I'd better talk a bit about Foxanne breaking down the other day. My own stupid fault, because I was trying to run the fuel tank down a bit low because I've got to remove it because it's leaking, and yeah, it went a bit too low. And then I think she probably sucked some rubbish through to the carburettor, or at least into the fuel pipe work, causing a fuel supply issue. And in trying to coax her into life, I think I then managed to burn the brushes out on the starter motor. And there's no starting handle on these, so if you can't bump it, you're in a spot of bother. Thankfully, I did manage to bump her when we recovered her to the unit, because we couldn't get the recovery truck round here. And she did thankfully bump down the yard, which means she actually drove to this position here. But the starter motor's still dead, and that's bad times. But I thought it'd be a good chance to discuss the recovery itself. This is in no means paid for. I pay a subscription to Autoaid every year. I can't actually remember what it is, so I'll put the details down here once I actually remember. Preparation is everything, and I don't know what that word means. But I think it would seem like a good first experience. I called the number. Phone call was answered immediately, and the young girl was very helpful, even if she was struggling to understand the number plate format, because this is an older format, pre-2001. She didn't quite understand that, and she'd certainly never heard of a Reliant Fox before. Yeah, how it works is they have contractors all around the country. The contractor in this case was Linwood Garage, who are actually quite close to Devil's Bridge in Aberystwyth. So I used to drive past their garage all the time. Big yard, they do all the accident collections and all that sort of thing. So it did take a while for them to get out, but you kind of expect that living in rural Wales. It's certainly not the worst I've had. I've had much worse experience with some of the bigger names, shall we say, which is why I'm not with them. And yeah, it was about 2 hours from making the call to getting them out. And I was fortunate that I'd broken down only a couple of miles from home. I was able to walk home and have a cup of tea and wait for them in reasonable comfort. I'd also forgotten my mobile phone when I actually broke down. My mobile phone was still at home charging up. So again, very grateful that I could walk home, jump in the 2CV and bring the 2CV down. Because another problem is you're not allowed to ride in the cab of the recovery vehicle at the moment. So I had to lead the way with Ellie. It's quite the sight, 2CV leading a Fox on a recovery truck. But yeah, the chap was really good. He considered trying to bump start it, but with a tow start, but there's no decent tow points on the front of the Fox, and it's got that chin spoiler on the front. So he very soon decided that was a bad idea, and decided that the quickest solution was simply to recover me back here. So that's great. So I do need to crack on. I'm aware of this. I need to get the fuel tank out now. Probably take the starter motor off, see if it can be repaired. In the old days, you could do that. You could replace burnt out brushes and stuff like that, and they were designed to be serviceable. These days, it's just take the old one off, fit a new one. Very wasteful when you think about it, when it's probably only a small part that needs replacing. So that's going to be future video content on this car. So we'll see if we can sort that out and hopefully get this car back in use. I did discover, driving it around again, especially over speed humps, the shock absorbers are absolutely shot. So I think over the winter there's no rush because the heater's fairly rubbish, so I don't really want to be driving this car through the winter. I think now is the time to actually crack on and get some jobs done. But of course, there is a slight issue there in that there are other cars in the queue. The GSA has got a leaky gearbox that I've been meaning to do something about for ages and haven't done anything at all. Took the Invercar needs her engine sorting out. The Yugo Sana, there has been progress of sorts, but not as much progress as I'd hope. There's alt sit right up the back. Yeah, I ain't touching that. I've just filled that with stuff. Yeah, not much happening there. Then we got Myrtle. Myrtle's got a squeaky brake issue I need to look at. The 2CV's got a wiper issue. And on top of all that, I'm a family man these days, so tinkering time has become a little more restricted than it perhaps would have been some time ago. And which is my way of saying I'm very sorry that I'm not doing enough tinkering at the moment. I feel like I'm not doing enough tinkering, and I feel like I'm rushing with some of it today. In fact, I did a fair bit of exploration on the Sana and didn't record any of it because I just needed to crack on and try and find my way around that. I still can't get any electrics. Well, actually, no, I've got one very exciting bit of electric working, but I can't get any power to the ignition switch at the moment, even though the ignition switch I'm having to bypass. I've got wires ready for hot wiring, but I'm not getting any power at the switch at all. I don't know what's going on. Slightly upsetting, so I need to investigate what's going wrong there, and then yeah, hopefully we can actually get some progress. And I'm still very confident that the Sana will drive at some point in hopefully not the too distant future, but a long way to go. Because if I drive, I can drive her out and give her a wash, which is what she really needs. The whole fleet needs a wash. All the cars are filthy. I can see tree sap on the GSA. That's not good. But the GSA probably not going to be doing too many more miles now we're getting into the really cold stuff. But yeah, if you have loads of cars, you have loads of things to sort out on them. But that was just a quick update on where we are and a quick review of Autoaid, because yeah, I was really pleased with their service. I think they did a great job. And some people were worried there was a crack in this door. I was a bit worried because it did look like it in the video footage, but no, there isn't a crack. What there is rust, because the hinge has rusted a bit, because it's a metal hinge, straight off a Mark 1 Mini, I believe. And yeah, some of the rust has dribbled down the door, so it looks like a crack, but it is in fact brown. And this bottom hinge is a right rusty mess. The emulsion has not done a good job of keeping the rot at bay. It's when you start getting closer to this car, you start realising just how rough she is, poor love. But nonetheless, she's where she needs to be. I need to start dropping the tank, and hopefully we can get this girl back into some sort of use. But like I say, there's a lot to do on this car, I think, over the winter. It might actually be better to stop driving her, take her off the road officially. MOT's up next month, December. And yeah, get a fighting fit to pass a test in the new year. So that is your quick hub nut update on the fleet and the Fox and breakdown services in general. Incidentally, just before I go, a lot of people think I break down a lot. It is true, there are occasionally issues I have to deal with on the road. That is part of old car life, especially as they're all getting on a bit and I don't look after them particularly well. There's usually something that needs doing. But in terms of actual breakdowns, I'm trying to think. Since I moved to Wales in 2010, I think I've only called on recovery a handful of times. In 2013, I think it was, my BX, at the time I had a 305,000 mile BX turbo diesel estate, blew a main front to rear pipe. I wasn't going to get into doing that job because you've got to drop the rear subframe. So I got that car recovered to Pete Sparrow, who has never quite forgiven me because it was a horrible job, and at Sparrow Automotive, and he sorted that out. And then the Nissan Bluebird, after I'd replaced the head gasket, it blew a coolant pipe, and I had no spares with me, and that was I was going to say that was a recovery job, but in the end the chap just cut the hose. I had no tools, and stuffed it back on. Job's a good one. And then there was a breakdown in an XK150 which lost all the electrics in the fast lane of the A449 near Usk. That was extremely terrifying because I was stuck in a live lane with it. There was no hard shoulder, but that wasn't my car, so that doesn't count as my breakdown. But that was one of the big two recovery companies, and the service was absolutely terrible. I think it was getting on for 6 hours between the breakdown and finally getting recovered. Awful. Yeah, since then I had, oh no, there was the Rover 600 that blew its gearbox apart. That was my last recovery, and I think that was 2016. So I don't have to call on the breakdown services all that often, even if, you know, you do get the odd problems. Taking the 2CV around Croatia, I was chasing a few issues throughout that trip, but she, you know, good old Ellie, the 2CV, she just kept going. So breakdown services were not required. I don't think I even had them on that trip because my Autoaid policy doesn't cover me for Europe. So I was very much on my own. My opinion was if I break down, I will fix it and get home. Other friends did have to make use of breakdown services on that trip, but these are people who have to get back to the UK for jobs, children in schools, etc. They don't have the luxury of time, whereas if I'd broken down, even if it was a fairly major one that took days to sort out, I would rather be with the car and fix it, rather than ship it off with a load of unknown people who don't know 2CVs. Yeah, didn't really want to go there. Same with the mighty Dacia. We didn't have breakdown cover on that trip. 2,800 miles driving the Dacia back. It was fine. So yeah, it's all part of the fun sometimes, really. What does breakdown cover do? I mean, it can get you out of a tricky spot, but sometimes you're best just to call on local help if you can, especially if you're in the old car scene. Plea on Facebook can go a long way. But that'll do. Yeah, I need to crack on with these cars, but yeah, I also need to go to the butcher. So yeah, the realities of life sometimes get in the way. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you wish. Head to the revitalised Hubnut store if you wish. I've just done a special offer on the Elliversary stuff because I bought far too much of it and it needs to go. So hoodies, £25. T-shirts are £9. So grab them while you can because they won't be getting replenished. Lots of other designs. Just got Fox and shirts back in stock on the store as well. So yeah, and beanie hats, I can confirm these are so warm. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell. Oh yeah, stickers available too.